Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Advocates for Angels, Monday Morning Facebook Live. I'm Valerie Abrahamian, the IEP Navigator, and I coach parents and empower them to receive the special education supports and services their child needs to thrive both in school and in life after high school. So this morning's Facebook Live is entitled, How Long Will You Wait to Have Your Child's IEP Implemented? Don't let limiting beliefs hold you back from learning how to become your child's best advocate. So the reason I chose that topic, parents, is because I received a private message from a mom who's been following me, and she said in her message, what's the point, Valerie? What's the point? My child can't learn in virtual school, so what's the point? So that's just so disheartening, but I know that lots of parents feel like that. What's the point? Because hundreds of thousands of kids across the nation aren't learning in virtual schooling. That's the facts. Virtual schooling, remote learning, whatever you want to call it, hybrid model, it hasn't worked, and it doesn't work for children on IEPs. Let me take a drink of water here. It has not worked, and we all know it. And it has resulted in just horrible, horrible situations for so many parents across the nation and families across the nation. I'm getting calls, I'm getting private messages, I'm getting emails, I'm getting text messages from parents all over the nation saying, my child is severely depressed now. My child's been hospitalized for attempted suicide or in such depression. My child's self-harming now. My child's cutting themselves. And on with these horrible stories of children and how it's harming our kids. It is harming our kids' mental health, well-being, lives, not only their education, not only the fact that they've regressed, they haven't been provided a whole school year of education, and they've regressed in their skills that they once gained. And every day they're continuing to fail, the school districts are failing to provide access to an education for our kids on an IEP, which is a violation of federal and state law, because IDEA says that the purpose of IDEA, the overall purpose of IDEA, parents, is for your child to graduate high school with a high school diploma, then move on to go on to secondary education or a trade school, and to obtain gainful employment and get a job after that, and to ultimately live a purposeful, productive, and independent life. That is the purpose of IDEA federal law. That's the purpose, and they are failing to even come close to that, because if our kids lost a whole school year, they're regressing, they're on meds, they're depressed, they're in this horrible situation. They're not even learning every day online, or even in the hybrid model. They're not learning because of all these mandates that we have to follow in school, and kids are suffering. That's the bottom line. So my response to her was that no, you don't give up on your child. Don't give up on your child, because this is my response to all those parents that are suffering and their children are suffering, which has been my message. And I'm going to talk to you as a mom now, parents, because I'm a mom too of 4 children, and as a mom, and 2 of them were special needs. So as a mom, IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, is a federal law, and also there are state mandates that are under IDEA, the federal law. That is for us. IDEA, we have all the power. We can get our child's needs met. But the problem is, parents, is that you don't know what your rights are, and you don't know how to utilize IDEA to help your child, which is what I do. That's what I do. I coach and empower parents so they can help their child by learning IDEA and your parent rights and implementing them in your IEP meetings. But I can't do that when a parent asks me a little question here or a little question there, and I answer their question, and then they got that question answered. It's not a question, parents. It's an overarching set of rights that you must learn. Look, this is the bottom line, parents. You have a special needs child. If you want to help your child, you're going to have to invest the time. You're going to have to invest the effort, and you're going to have to invest some finances into working with an advocate. It can be me, and it can be any other wonderful advocate. I've got tons of advocate friends out there over the nation. Find an advocate to work with, because you're never going to make it, and your child will continue to regress, continue to not receive an education. The IEP will continue to fail to be implemented by the school districts. Related services, speech and language, occupational therapy, whatever it may be, adaptive physical education, on and on, all the related services will continue to fail to be implemented and provided if you don't learn how to hold them accountable. And you can, because I'm teaching parents. I have my monthly membership, and we're having amazing success in the monthly membership because these parents are learning. Because in the membership, I meet with parents twice a month on a group call, and then I have a one-on-one consultation with them to go deeper into their one-on-one situation, helping them to write letters and helping them to prepare for their IEP meeting. So I could actually teach you, not just answer one little question, but I can prepare you for your IEP meeting. I can tell you how to win whatever the problem is that you are facing. Because it's not just, oh, how do I get them to do an assessment? That's the tip of the iceberg. You have to know then what you're going to do after the assessment comes in. You have to understand how to read the assessment and have an advocate help you to interpret the assessment and to break it down so you understand what it says. And so you know when you go to the meeting what you can advocate for and what you can ask for. And it's just on and on and on. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have zillions of videos where I talk about all the little pieces of the IEP and the parent rights, but it's still that only just touches the top of what the your rights are. But parents, IDEA is written for you and your child. It's to protect you and your child's education. But you don't know it, and you don't know what it says, and you don't know how to use it. You might even know some of what it says or some of what your parent rights are, but then you go to the meeting and then they argue with you, and then they mislead you, and then they lie to you, and then they intimidate you, and then they mix you all up and confuse you, and then they say no, and then you don't know what to do after that. So this is what I teach in the monthly parent membership, and this is what parents have to learn. And like I said, if it's not from me, go to another advocate, but just get help from an advocate, because it's breaking my heart that every day I'm seeing these kids suffer, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And I have another, she's actually a teacher, sent me an email yesterday, and she has 3 children, and all 3 of her kids are suffering from depression. 2 of them are on an IEP. They're not being implemented. They are not learning. It's the same old story, and that family is suffering. It's causing marital problems with marriages, and it's a snowball. It's a snowball effect. And so if we're going to survive this, parents, you can win, and you can get your child's needs met if you learn how to do this. So let me tell you some of the success stories that we're having in the parent monthly membership. So one of my parents, we just were able to gain for her last week behavior aid, a one-on-one behavior aid at the school in person. So her child was home, and he wasn't learning. He couldn't even sit down for 2 minutes and look at the computer and access a curriculum. So we were able to win last week that she's going to bring her son to the school site and they're going to provide a behavior aid to that child at the school site for him to access the virtual learning with the teacher and the service providers at the school site with the personal aid in person. Now, this student did not have an aid prior to this. He didn't have a district aid, he didn't have a behavior aid, he didn't have any aid. And so because of our advocacy, she was awarded a behavior aid at the school site. Now, a behavior aid, if your parents aren't familiar with that, behavior aids are supervised by a BCBA, which is a behavioralist, which is a master's or doctorate degree of behavioralists that know how to work with children with autism, and they supervise a behaviorally trained aide that has had many hours of training, and they're usually either in training and they are in school to get their BA in behavior as well, because they're going to go into that career of behavior and working with kids with autism. It's not a district aid. A district aid doesn't have to have any training in behavior, doesn't have to have any training of kids working with kids with disabilities, doesn't have to have any training at all on education. It's just an aid. An aid, the only qualifications for an aid is a high school diploma, and you don't have a criminal record. Anybody off the street with a high school diploma without a criminal record can become an aide in a school district. That's the qualifications. And so a district aide does not meet the needs of children. So unless you get them trained. So we want this aide trained in evidence-based practices, and then you're going to start seeing some better results from an aide. But I'm digressing. So that was one of a big win. Another one was another kiddo. Her son was self-harming because he was so depressed. He was so frustrated with virtual schooling. And we also were able to win. He did not have an aide either, no aide. We were able to win. The district awarded him a behavioral aid to come to the home and in person provide behavior intervention to that child so he can be successful accessing his virtual schooling. That's another huge win we had. We're winning compensatory education right and left all over the place. Many parents are continuing to receive and be awarded by their school district compensatory ed from March, April, May, and June, when they didn't provide related services. They didn't provide speech, they didn't provide OT, they didn't provide SAI, which is specialized academic instruction from a special education teacher, on and on, all the related services. They didn't receive that. So parents are saying, well, I want that made up. And then parents ask and the districts say, no, we don't have to make that up. Schools were closed then. But that's not correct information, parents. They do have to make it up because the IEP says that your child gets that and you didn't get it. And it doesn't matter that schools were closed because remember, Secretary DeVos said schools are still held accountable to implement IDEA and there were no waivers. So we are winning the comp ed from March, April, May, and June. It's kind of a regular thing now that we're just winning it now. Okay. So that's another huge win. Another parent was able to obtain a private school placement for children with dyslexia by being coached by me in the monthly parent brigade. And that's upwards to $50,000 for the tuition. And then she also has her services, which take it up another $15,000 with transportation. So those are some of the wins we're gaining. But if you don't learn it, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So that's my encouragement to parents is that I know what you're going through. I see it every day. I'm in communication with parents, and that's why I developed this special program. It's a monthly membership to help as many parents as I possibly can, because you can hire an advocate to fix it for you, but many parents don't have the finances or the money to hire an advocate to fix it for you. But you can do that, and that is an option, of course. But then the problem is, parents, that once that advocate is gone, you're going to be right back in the same boat, and you're not going to know what you're doing, and you're not going to know how to protect your rights. And they're going to take it all away once the advocate's gone, because I've been doing this for 23 years, and that's what's happened to the parents that hire me to do it for them. And then I come in and I develop the IEP properly, and the parent's very, very happy, and the child's progressing and the child's learning. And then once they let me go and I'm not there anymore, within 1 to 2 years, they call me back and they say, Valerie, we need to hire you back because the district took everything away that you gained for us, because the parent didn't know how to sustain the program that I provided and I developed for them while I was there. So whether you hire an advocate or attorney, even if you have the finances to do that, you still are faced with learning how to protect your own child's rights and how to advocate for your own child, because you're going to be doing IEP meetings all the way until your child graduates high school or until your child goes on to their age of 22. You still have to advocate all those years. And if you don't know how to advocate, your child's needs are not going to get met, especially in today's situation and what we're experiencing with this horrible situation with school closures. It's not happening. IEPs are not being implemented. Parent and children rights are being violated every day, and it's up to parents now. Parents are really being forced now to learn to advocate, or your child's just going to be at home and not learn and not get an education. And it's black and white now. It's black and white. At least before, your kid could go to school and you knew they were at school. Were they learning? Were they getting their services? Who knows? But at least they were going to school, right? And they were getting interaction with other kids. Now that's not happening. So now the parents that aren't going to step up and take the authority to stand in their power and learn their rights, those kids are going to continue to be in these horrible situations. And it's just so sad, so sad. And so I encourage you and I implore you, work with an advocate. You can go to my Advocates for Angels Facebook page and you can find the monthly parent membership. It's called the Informed Empowered Parent Brigade on there. And if you can't find it, go ahead and private message me and I will help you with that. And I want to remind you, parents, tomorrow night is the Advocacy Roundtable. I'm having Rich Isaacs, a special education attorney, and we're going to be talking about just all these things. We're going to be talking about what you can do for your child right now, where we're at. Are we, whether you are in virtual, remote, or whether you're in a hybrid model, how the transition back to the school site is difficult for our kids too, right? Because they just got used to the virtual remote model and now we're transitioning back to the school site. So transitions cause our kids to escalate, to have anxiety, and it's difficult. So we're going to be talking about transitioning back to the school brick and mortar building, and also just the state of education as it is today with a special education attorney. So I hope to see you there. You can also find that if you haven't registered on my Advocates for Angels page. So, okay, parents, thank you so much, and I hope to see you tomorrow night on the Advocacy Roundtable webinar. Take care, everyone.